If you've ever asked yourself this question or wondered, am I a good coach? We are going to be answering that question together inside this episode. I'm going to give you 5 indicators that you can use to help judge if you are a good coach. And be sure to listen all the way through because number 5 is gold. What's going on, coaches? Welcome back to the Best Damn Coach podcast. Amanda here, your hostess. And I am really, this episode is deep for me because it answers this question that I think so many of us grapple with sometimes. And it was inspired when I was in session with a client, and it was a deep session. There was some tears, some truth, some great coaching, a lot of great listening. And she just really honestly asked this question, but like, how do I know I'm actually good at this? How do I know if I'm actually a good coach? And that question just sat with me and it's been sitting with me. And I've actually been working on the notes to this for a while because I thought, man, this is such a subjective question in so many ways because there have been times in my coaching world where somebody will literally be in the same session, be in the same program. I do very similar, same coaching, and they can walk away with very different responses. I've had hundreds of students come through a program with amazing results and testimonials, and then there's this one that is completely different. And I hope I can do a thorough job supporting you through answering this question because we want to know, we want to have some sort of structure. We want to have a way. How do we validate ourselves potentially or walk the line of being careful to validate this? So how do you know if you're actually a good coach or not? And not because a client just told you, hey, that one session was amazing, not because your retention is solid, not because people say you're easy to talk to. Those things are real, and this is not to discount them. I love them. I would be lying to you if I didn't. But today I want to give you a more honest set of, I guess, indicators. That's what I'm going to call them today is indicators. And I'm going to be bucketing them into 2 buckets, the external indicators and the internal indicators that are available to you to really look at some criteria to reflect on whether or not you are a good coach. If you're brand new to this series, to this podcast, welcome. So excited you're here. But here on the show, we're really looking at the 2 key elements of what building an effective coaching practice looks like. It is being a great coach and sitting in time and mastering your skill set and growing as a coach and being able to elicit results from a client and really walk them through transformation. That's a piece of it. But if you don't have clients and you don't know how to grow a business to get said clients in, then you will be a hobby coach that's not making money, or that is this in this perpetual cycle of certifying to try to get better and better. And honestly, today's episode is geared to stopping that because I don't believe you need more certifications to be a good coach. I want to be clear about that from the beginning. But this podcast seeks to really look at both sides of this. We probably spend more time talking about business for sure because I want you to get clients in. I'm not here to offer a certification. What I'm here is to give you stuff that's rooted in real life, not theory, not textbook, that's going to help increase your coaching mastery, but also the freaking critical thinking and the common sense that we can apply to business that isn't super coachy all the time. I'm recording a separate episode about this, but like all the coaching certification business for me, it's a little bit feels like a multi-level marketing Ponzi scheme at times. And I think it can get us into this place where we're looking for this validation from a certification and practitioners that aren't actually doing real work with real clients. And so I want to help you recognize these options or these opportunities in your business. And so I literally, before I started recording this episode, have it written here on a sticky note. You can see me on YouTube. And she said, I think I'm really good at what I do. My clients love me. And does that mean I'm good at what I do? And I thought, oh my goodness, this is so timely because we're about to talk about this. But we're first going to look, like I said, I'm going to organize this into two parts today. First, we're going to look at the external indicators, the things you can see and point to in your client or relationships that tell you your coaching is happening in real time. And then I want to go a little internal because I think some of the most honest answers to these questions don't come from our clients at all. They come from you and your willingness to keep looking at yourself honesty, which already, because you're asking this question, by the way, makes you a wonderful coach. I hope you were asking this question before you started listening. And if you're not, maybe that is the red flag. It's kind of like when I say, oh my gosh, am I being a good mom? Am I doing a good job? My husband always likes to redirect. So shout out to him. The fact that you're asking a question, this question already shows that you care and you are great at what you do. So I'm going to first walk you through 3 external indicators, and then we're going to look at the 2 internal indicators. And these are my opinion, my thoughts. I didn't go to the interwebs. Actually, by the way, I actually did go to the interwebs to answer these questions. I said, how do I know if I'm a good coach? How do we determine good coaching? You know what? It was all fluff. Everything was fluff. It was just all this fluffy, intangible crap that is part of the problem. And so I seek to add some tangible to this. So please share this with more coaches, post this in coaching communities. I want to have this discussion with people. And I'm not shying away from the idea that we have to bring more tangibility to what we're doing. So external and probably most obvious indicator number 1 is your clients are actually having measurable results in real time. So this is the clearest external indicator of good coaching at its core to me is your clients are doing things, achieving things, and becoming things that were not happening before they worked with you. So it's not in theory, you can physically see it in their actual lives in real time. And I want to emphasize this in real time because I think it's important. Transformation isn't always dramatic and it doesn't always show up in like huge announcements and oh my goodness and massive breakthroughs, but it does show up. The client who finally had maybe the conversation they've been avoiding for years or a year, or the client that is actually hitting their protein goal for the first time ever, the client who hit a revenue milestone, the client who finally pitched to a podcast, the client who's able to control their health flare up now instead of it taking months, it's weeks. These are real, observable, nameable results, and they're happening while they're working with you, not hypothetically someday when, right? And a practical way to check yourself on this is if I sat down right now and tried to name one specific concrete thing that has changed for each of my current clients since we started working together, could you do that? Just easily, specifically, without reaching for vague language. Not just they're more confident, they're more content, they're more purposeful. Those are just fluffy intangibles. Great coaches can see the tangible shifts. This is why when we're in the Framework Builder Lab, so if you haven't built a framework, might be part of your struggle why you can't name these, is because you haven't identified the tangible milestones or you don't even actually know the tangible results that if they were more confident or living in their purpose that they would actually have. And then building in milestones and ways to measure this throughout, which could be simple and verbal on session. So it doesn't have to be fancy by any means. But more important is at the beginning of your coaching container, we should be identifying what these tangible goals are, and we should be checkpointing them all along the way. Right? I love track and field because it don't lie. If you started at the beginning of the season running a 400 meters and it took you 60 seconds, and by the end of the season, it's 53 seconds, wonderful. But throughout the season, we should be watching for 58s, 57s, 55s, 54s until we get to 53s. So are you looking for that with your clients as well? So that's external indicator 1. External indicator 2 is they need you less as time goes on. A good coach is in the business of building what I would say capacity, not dependency. We're not trying to manipulate and say, you got to track your macros all the time and be with me and you can't do without me. You're saying, I want to teach you the skill set. I'm not going anywhere, but you can come back. Or we alter the goal and the skill set. Like for me inside the BDC is if we're spending time and our first goal set is to identify your framework and build out the framework, then check once we get that, we alter the goal. You need me, but in a different way. And one of the most honest external indicators of good coaching is that your clients over time need you less and they outgrow you. Not because they stop valuing your relationship, I want to be clear, but because they have genuinely internalized something amazing. They're solving problems they used to bring to you on their own, potentially, depending on what they're doing. They're making decisions that need less session time to process, and they're catching their own patterns before you have to name them and point them out. And when a client has been with you for a year and they're more self sufficient and more trusting of their own judgment and more capable, this is your coaching working in real time. And that is kind of the point, right? So transformation builds agency. This is what I love. It makes it makes people more themselves and not more reliant on you. And sometimes I think there is like a misconception or maybe a manipulation in the coaching industry around what this should looks like. And it depends on the niche here too. Because there's times where I actually go out because I know I just need accountability from somebody and I'm depending on them because I just know I need that accountability, which is what our people are here for. But the transformation we provide could look very different. At the same time, something I say in the BDC all the time is you're not running out of room to grow. But the reason I say that is because I'm also adjusting my coaching to be able to meet the highest level. I'm differentiating the learning so that if I have clients making multiple six figures, I'm like, okay, I got to keep taking them somewhere. And if it doesn't feel congruent for me that they're in the program, then guess what? I don't force them to stay there. I invite them into one-to-one. Or as I'm finding out now, because I've been coaching people so well, I'm like, okay, it's time to open my mastermind back up. So, and I want to name on the flip side of this directly, if you have clients who've been with you for a long time that are still bringing the exact same problems, it's redundant, still unable to make decisions without processing in sessions, like for me, that's a red flag. That's a signal. Not that you're a bad person by any means, but that there's something in how you're coaching that might be creating comfort for them rather than growth and progress. And those are very different things. And only you can answer both of those things. Okay, external indicator 3. This is the one I have to sit with, and also I want you to sit with because I think this is the external indicator that coaches over rely on. And I heard my clients say this before is that they will say things like, I just love you. My clients say great things about me on our sessions. So you might feel this. They're like, you're amazing. Oh my gosh, this is so great. My clients tell their friends about me. All these things are brilliant. I love these things. My clients think maybe they say like, you're easy to talk to, you're approachable, you're so warm. And all of this is true and there's real value. And I'm not dismissing any of things because there is rapport there that just the approachability and the safety is important. But I also want to draw a very clear line around this is that being a coach that people love being around and being a coach that actually changes people are very different things. They're not the same thing. A coach with incredible rapport and warmth and empathy can absolutely create an environment where clients can feel seen and heard. And that is the goal, right, for all of us. But they could also do that and never push their clients anywhere they couldn't have gotten on their own. And so the sessions feel good and the relationship is good, but fundamentally nothing's really changing. And that's the part that's concerning, right? And so rapport is the container and empathy for me is the component of it. But your clients loving you is a wonderful sign. It tells you you've built amazing trust. It tells you the relationship is like great conditions to do real work. But I wouldn't necessarily rely on it as evidence that your clients are getting transformation. So I want you to have both. I want you to have the first thing, the tangible results, and the last thing, your clients telling you that you love you. Because for me, that's like the climate of the conversation versus the transformation of the experience. And I hope that you're experiencing both in your sessions with your people. So those are the 3 external indicators that for me, I think are really important. I want to look now at you because having those things is wonderful and brilliant, but I've seen it go 2 ways. I've seen people have those things and it builds their ego and it makes them kind of too big for their britches. But I also think you could be in a place where you're hearing those things, but you still don't believe it, right? Or you still struggle with confidence. And inevitably, all of us we're going to have sessions along the way that just kind of suck. A bad client session, maybe a client that's just shouldn't have been somebody that we've said yes to. And it might cause you to doubt your experience, your talents, your skill set. And so just know that you're not alone, that that's definitely part of the process. And I think any service provider experiences this. But here's the thing about external validation, and I've worked on this personally, is that It's always gonna be there if you want it, like, we can seek it. Clients will tell you the things that you wanna hear, you can hunt them down, sessions can feel really great, and you can collect all the testimonials you really want, and referrals are growing, all those things are beautiful and present. But you can still feel this n n like, this niggling that something's missing, and these are the internal indicators I wanna share that I think when these are the things you should leverage and use that are not reliant on somebody else's feedback. They're about you and your relationship to the coaching craft. And they're the most honest, I think, honest answer that you could give yourself about being a great coach. Because ultimately, the way you answer this question for you is the most important. And you don't have to talk about it out loud. You can just take this episode, play with it, sit with it, and see kind of how things land for you. So, internal indicator number one for me is you're willing to have like these hard conversations. A truly good coach is not in the business of making a session feel good. They're in the business of serving the client. And sometimes you have these things, they're not the same thing and they do not feel great. And one of the most honest indicators of quality coaching is whether you're willing to have this conversation a client needs, even when it's uncomfortable and even when you know it might create friction, even when part of you wants to let it go because things feel fine right now. And I'm not even talking about like you didn't show up to a session. Well, I mean, it could be that, but it could be that you keep seeing the same excuse from a client. Like, sometimes you have these charming clients and that are funny, but you see the same freaking pattern and you're like, "It's right there. I need to say it." But I'm like, "God, I'm so scared I'm gonna break rapport and it's gonna go down the drain." And that is an indication that you're more committed to the client's comfort than their growth. And I've had many a hard conversation that I didn't wanna have, and I had to practice, and I had to maybe write out what I was gonna say or approach it and practice it prior to. But for me, like, that shows me I am a great coach. I am not hired to be somebody's friend. I'm hired to be on the outskirts of the pool and watch them and be able to send in a life preserver and support them, but not also be the one that jumps in and is like, I'll drown with you. I'm so sorry you're sad." That's not my goal. And there's been times in a coaching session that that client wanted me to do that, and I had to say, "If you're looking for that, I am not your person." And that is a very hard conversation to have. So I think if you're willing to have these hard conversations, that makes you a great coach because it's real, true. It says a lot to who you're there to serve, not your ego, not the money. You're willing to let those things go in honor of the client. And so, when's the last time maybe you said something in a session that you knew the client may not want to hear, and you said it anyway because you knew it was something they needed to hear? And if that happens regularly in coaching, I think it's a strong internal indicator that you're doing the real work, both on yourself and for them, and that you're gaining confidence and you're building rapport and you're coming into yourself as a coach and you have a willingness to do what it takes, that greatest level of behavioral flexibility to serve the client. And that ain't easy, friends. And lastly, the fifth one, second internal indicator is that you question your own coaching. This one for me separates coaches who plateau from coaches who keep getting better for their entire career. It's kind of like this, it's just like this inquench a thirst you can't quench. Is unquenchable a word? But it's like you're never fully satisfied with your own coaching, not in like a I suck kind of way, like a punishing way, but like in a genuinely curious, like constantly improving. How could I get better way? You go back and you listen to your sessions. I definitely do this. You ask yourself, man, where could I could have gone instead of here? Did I like hurry and fill some silence because it felt awkward? Like, what was happening for me in that moment that I gave advice, or did I make it about myself? Man, did I talk too much? But you can catch yourself doing the thing not to do, and you get curious about it without being like excuses, without taking ownership. And I think that the internal factor is like you're reading and learning and you're in conversations with other coaches about the craft. You pick up the phone sometimes, you're like, "Hey, this is what happened. What do you think?" Like in somebody that you feel like you can confide in. And even when a session goes really well, you also don't make it about you. You're not like, "That was me." For me, and I've done that in sessions early on, is this is definitely a co-created space. And you're already thinking about like, how do I continue this momentum with that client? This is, I think, the internal confidence and posture of a genuinely great coach, a good coach, not complacency, not fake it till you make it, not something that isn't disingenuine. And I've been doing this now almost 10 years, but a real ongoing commitment I've made to myself is to keep getting better. I add learnings. I don't have to go out and do a massive certification all the time, because I think sometimes like the nuances that I'm doing on my own coaching consistently are where I get the greatest return on an investment. And the coaches that I honestly respect in the industry most are the ones who are still out there doing it, right? Still wondering, still stretching themselves. And I don't think that's insecurity at all. I think it's mastery. It's a desire to do the best work possible for our clients. And I think that speaks a lot of volumes to you if you're that person and you're doing it not out of like have to, but curiosity and a high regard for putting out a high quality of coaching. So, how do you know if you're really a good coach? And I think you have to look at both sides. Externally, you see things happening in real time, but internally, you're willing to do the hard stuff and self assess constantly. And that combination, from my perspective, the external evidence matched up with this like internal level of high commitment and integrity, that's what a good coach is. And my honest belief is that if you listen to this episode and felt something, there were moments where you thought, man, I need to look more closely, or you're like, yes, yes, then you're already closer to this whole idea of answering yes than you really give yourself credit for. The thing about this industry is that truthfully, there's no right or wrong way. There's a million different modalities. All roads are leading to Rome. But at the end of the day, the coaches who aren't good are the ones not asking this question. And I know that you are here because you care that much. So I just appreciate you taking time to consider these 5 indicators. And if you want more continued support, like developing at this level and perfecting the art of coaching and the skill set of business growth, this is what Best Damn Coach is all about. And I would love for you to schedule a time to chat. You can do that at amanda-walker.com/let's talk, LETSTALK. You're going to go to that link. There's going to be just a couple questions to answer before you, so I can prep when I get on the phone with you. And we can talk more about how to support you to take you to that next level of confidence and client roster and all the things that I know you are wanting from your coaching business. So please share this episode if it resonates with you with a fellow coach friend. And until then, go coach them up.